I guess twofold on this question. How is Jesus currently being portrayed by Christians to the culture? And where do you think they're getting it wrong in their presentation of Jesus?
Yeah, I think that overall in the culture, I think that Jesus is actually presented like a wuss. And, I think that's that's a terrible thing because, they're presenting him like this pacifist wuss. They're presenting him as this hippie nice guy. You go back to, I love this movie, so I'm not like knocking this thing, but you go back to like Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
What's Jesus looking like there? He's like this hippie nice guy. And it's like, that is not at all the image of Jesus, like who he really is. I know I mentioned this before, but one of my favorite priests, Father John Ricardo, he quoted saying, Jesus was not nice. He is kind. He is loving. He's not nice.
Yeah.
And when we teach Jesus as nice, we're doing a massive disservice in communicating not only who he is, but also what he did. Like what he did I'm not even talking about like salvation, like take that off the table for a second. We're discounting what he did as a human being on earth.
Yeah.
And, and that's just not very Christ-like at all. So, we have to do a better job. Jesus was not a wuss. He was a revolutionary. He had tendencies that were pacifistic, I guess. But, at the same time, he's like, come take up your sword, man. I mean, we're going to battle. He came into the world to do battle in the first place.
Yeah. And how do you think like that was intended to be taken and perceived? Because there's I think there's a segment of Christians who kind of go this very militaristic approach, which I think there's an aspect of that, but it's almost like hyper divisive approach to the world that closes off any kind of conversation about Christianity too. People that say, oh, he came to, he was divisive. You think of him like flipping the tables in the Marketplace Square. Those are these kind of anarchist viewpoints. Like, does that do more damage to, or do certain Christians portray him in that way, and that becomes the way they act in kind of society, and it becomes this just kind of like, I'm closed off to conversation. It's black and white. Here's what it is, and they don't have any tact or anything like that.
I think that there could be a lack of tact.
Sure.
And I also do think that I think people are focusing on the wrong things, whether it's, Jesus being this hippie nice guy, or the thing that you're mentioning. Yeah. So, Jesus, he turned the tables. Like, everyone loves to talk about Jesus, righteous anger, and he turned the table. But, when they mention that, what they don't mention? That he pulled out a whip. They don't mention that.
Yeah.
And it's like, he didn't just turn the tables, he pulled out a whip. Mm-hmm. And so, he's a man of action.
Yeah.
So, we might be using intentionally divisive language, but at the same time, I do think that we are doing a disservice if we're not talking about who he actually was. Yeah. And what he actually did. Was he kind? Yeah, of course he was kind. Was he compassionate? Of course. Was he forgiving? Yes. But, he also used very hurtful language, very blunt, very brutally honest. He was a name caller. He would call people hypocrites, blind guides, blind fools, children of hell, serpents, you brood of vipers, sons of murderers. That's not nice. And, and then like my favorite one, my favorite example, I guess, not my favorite, this is vile Jesus. Yeah. My favorite one is, everyone loves to talk about his encounter with the Samaritan woman at the well.
Yeah.
Right? If you put yourself in her shoes for 1 minute, and you're having a conversation with this person, okay, happens to be God, but you're having this conversation with this person, and he says, you have 5 husbands. I think I would be like all over embarrassed.
Yeah.
So, he's calling someone out and embarrassing her, and she has to take stock in her life and say, you're right, this is not the way that I should be living. And so, so he's coming at it in this very compassionate way and saying, look, you can't live like this and be righteous.
Yeah.
But you can achieve righteousness, and here's how you're going to do it. And so, and to make my point, this is going to be embarrassing and this is going to hurt, but I hope that you'll hear the words that I'm saying to you so that we can move forward and that we can come together in our relationship.
Yeah. Hey everyone, thank you so much for checking out this clip from the Practical Theism podcast. If you enjoyed this clip and you want to check out the full episode, you can do so by finding it on our YouTube channel. Definitely consider subscribing and ringing that little bell so you can continue to get updates, notifications when we release new episodes and new clips just like this one. I hope to see you soon.